Hi everyone, so we're back with more back to school easy breakfast tips. Again, most of these are things that I, at one time at least, made for my daughter. She will not eat oatmeal or quinoa or anything like that anymore for breakfast. She just doesn't like any kind of carbs, but I know most kids do. So if your kid is someone who likes oatmeal, here are a couple of ideas so that you're not sending them to school with a super carb heavy breakfast, because it does tend to affect focus if you give them too many carbs without balancing it at least with some protein. So I like the idea, if you're gonna do oatmeal, you can either swap it out with quinoa and do this, you make quinoa the same way you make oatmeal, or here are a couple of ideas to make it even better, but try to cut back on the amount you give them. Make sure they're steel cut oats, and here's how I balance it to make sure that they get protein and some healthy fat along with it. So here are a couple of ideas. They're pretty quick. Things are busy in our house just like they are yours. So I'm gonna start with the oatmeal, then I'm gonna show you a quinoa option, okay? So what I do, the way we make it work in our house, I make sure that I do this stuff in advance. As you can see, I'm busy every day, just like everybody else is. So I always make enough oatmeal or quinoa to last through several sessions, because I can use the quinoa for other meals as well. It's not just for breakfast. I can make it for dinner. I can throw stuff in it to make it, a great dinner meal. So I'll make, 4 or 5 servings of it. Same thing with the oatmeal, and then I just warm it up for breakfast. So it's already pre-made. Let me just show you. These are my pre-made quinoa and oatmeal containers. Take them out of the fridge, put them into these pots, because I already have them in the pots because I don't want to, be doing all this and turn my back to you. So now I've got oatmeal in this pot. Let me show you what I do for breakfast. I'm going to turn the heat on to warm it up. Just put it over medium heat. I'm going to put almond milk. You can put a little bit of ghee or grass-fed butter or coconut oil in it to make it really creamy. I put quite a bit of almond milk because we like it, my daughter likes it really kind of creamy. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put protein powder in it. You can use vanilla or chocolate. I'm going to use our chocolate protein powder. And so that's why I put so much almond milk in it, is so that it absorbs that protein without making it too thick. So I don't use an entire full scoop because it's not really necessary. I use about maybe 3/4, half to 3/4. Just take a scoop, like so, dump it in there. Now we only eat about a ½ cup of oatmeal because we're gonna put that protein in there and some nuts and things like that. You don't need more than a ½ cup, and really we don't want more carbs than that anyways. That's how we keep it from being too much of a carb heavy meal. Stir that in, get that all mixed in, and if you have to add more of the almond milk, you can do that. But since this was pre-made, it's only going to take me like 3 minutes to make this. It heats up really quickly. Get that all mixed in, like so. And if it's too thin, my daughter likes it thin. So if it's too thin, you can add, a little more protein to it or whatever you want to do to thicken it. We like it thin. And then once that's all heated, now I would give this another minute or 2 to heat up. But since you're sitting here with me, I'm not going to do that. So it takes about 1 or 2 more minutes. Get that all heated. I'm going to dump that into a bowl. Turn my heat off. And then I'm going to just top it with some nuts. And if you have them available, a few berries. Doesn't get much simpler than that. So now you've got healthy fat, protein, and you've got some oatmeal that your kids love. Pretty simple. So that's one breakfast idea to make life easy. The key is night before, while you're doing dishes from dinner or your kids are doing homework or whatever, just get it boiling. Put it on the stove. It only takes, you don't have to do anything. Just put it on the stove with some boiling water. It simmers for 30 minutes. It's not like you have to sit there and cook anything, right? You just have to think ahead. Now, one of my favorite breakfasts, this was inspired by my favorite restaurant. So if you're ever down in the Laguna area, go to a restaurant called Babette's. It's absolutely amazing. It's my favorite restaurant. It's farm to table, all organic. That whether you're a vegan or a caveman, they've got something for you, and it's just outrageous. They have this incredible juice bar. My favorite breakfast there is their Tuscan quinoa breakfast. It's Tuscan kale and quinoa breakfast. So I don't have time to make it beautiful the way they do, because everything they do there is beautiful. For me, it's about getting it like done in the morning. But let me just show you how quickly you can do this. If you've pre-made your quinoa, all you have to do, quinoa's in the pan. I'm going to turn on the heat. Now, with the quinoa, you have to add a tiny bit of water or it's going to burn. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of water so it steams, right? Just a little. You don't want to add too much or it's going to get mushy. Oh, where's my, can't use the same way I use for the oatmeal. Then I'm just going to heat that up, let it sort of get steamy. I'm going to throw, now they don't do this. They make it gorgeous. They steam their kale and do all this fancy stuff. I'm going to throw my kale. I've got baby kale here. You can do spinach also. But I'm going to throw it in while that's heating into the pan. With that tiny bit of water, it's going to steam really nicely. Don't turn your heat up too high or the whole thing's going to burn. And then every, 30 seconds or whatever, maybe in a minute, stir it all in. And I mix it all together. Instead of layering it all pretty, I just mix it all together. While that's cooking, I think eggs are like the fastest thing in the world to make. I'm just going to do 2 eggs over easy. All right, I broke that one, so I'm going to actually make a 3rd one just because it's going to bug me if it doesn't look good. So I'm going to do my eggs, and I cover them because it's going to cook faster. That way I don't have to flip them. I don't have to flip my eggs if I cover it. That's going to cook really quickly. Now I'm going to go back and stir this. Stir my kale into my quinoa. If you have to add more water, do that. One tip too, so you can add whatever spices you want to your quinoa. You can add, curry is great in it. Some people like cumin, garlic salt, whatever it is you like, a little white pepper. One tip, if you're a person who likes to make bone broth, it makes, oh my gosh, the flavor in your quinoa, instead of boiling it with water, you can boil it with bone broth or some low sodium organic vegetable broth if you're in a hurry, but the flavor will be completely different than if you just do it with water. So that's one tip. So that's almost done. My eggs are almost done. Let's see here. So what? I've got almost done with 2 breakfasts, and what have we been here maybe 6 minutes? So yeah, these are simple breakfasts. And this one my daughter will eat as long as I don't put too much quinoa on it. She doesn't like grains for breakfast. She's just sort of weird about that. You can also top this with some, if you have time, top it with a little, it's done. This is done. So you top it with a little bit of avocado. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So I put a little more quinoa just so you can see it. Again, I usually don't use any more than a half cup or a quarter cup, and I usually add a little more kale, or you can add more spinach. So it's more, now for kids, they won't eat too many greens. So that's just one tip that I have found. Most kids won't eat it if it's too green heavy. And your kids, if they freak out and go, no, I don't want the greens, make them try it. Now, the thing that makes this so tasty, like I said, Babette's makes this beautiful. I could care less if it's beautiful. What makes it tasty is when the yolk breaks. Now I'm going to get this broken one out of here. So, see, this is like, I'm not about doing these pretty. When the yolk breaks over the top. So that is what makes it absolutely delicious. So I'm going to break these yolks right over the top of this. It's amazing. Now they will serve it to you with the yolks all like beautiful and intact. And I actually don't care because in the mornings we're hurrying. But it's amazing tasting. So try that in the mornings. It doesn't look all that great, but it tastes amazing. When those yolks break all over the top of that quinoa and kale, so good. And that's a really easy breakfast. So if your kids will eat quinoa and kale, and even if they say no at first, get them to at least take a bite of it because it's absolutely delicious. So I hope that was helpful. We'll come back with a couple more in a few days. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Take care.